Yo, this is KD,
And this is David.
and we are the K&D Exchange, where we exchange music, and as a result, we exchange ideas, bridging the gap between old and new, with all original music produced by. Enjoy. Yo, welcome back to the K&D Exchange. We are back with our 11th exchange of the series. I am your co-host. Sounds weird starting with I am your co-host. I am one of your co-hosts, KD, alongside my other co-host, David. David, what's going on? What's happening?
Man, yeah, I'm fighting illness at the moment, but we're all good out here.
All good, man. All good. Hay fever striking.
Hay fever plus cold, yeah, boy, it's great.
Yeah, if you're watching the videos, you'll see the puffy eyes on each of us. It's not, it's not ideal, but it is what it is.
Nah, man, we've been crying because we've been listening to My Dear Melancholy by The Weeknd.
Yeah, I actually did listen to it on my way to on my walk today before starting this, because it's so short. I listened to it twice, and yeah, the feels. But
yeah,
but it's cool. All right, cool. So, before we jump in, just give a little plug to the stereo discussions that we do. We've been live on there twice now, and by the time this comes out, I think the third episode of our stereo talks will probably be out the next day. But yeah, so join us every Thursday, 8 p.m. Grab the stereo app, join us on there. And you can go on there on our profiles and find previous talks that we've had. You can then see the upcoming ones. We usually schedule like 3 or 4 ahead of time if we have enough ideas. And yeah, just join in. You know, it's a really good platform. It's quite new, and people jump in, leave their voice notes, and it's sick because we feed off of that, and it adds to the conversation. You know, so it's more interactive. Compared to just us two here when we talk about like hone in on a project or an album. But having said that, without further ado, this week was my turn. So at the end of the last episode, as per the new format, I gave David something to listen to. I can't even say album. I gave him an EP to listen to, basically. And what was it? What did I give you to listen to, David?
You gave me My Dear Melancholy by The Weeknd. Is it The Weeknd or is it Weeknd? Like, is in like You Ain't Strong? It's Weeknd. All right, cool.
The Weeknd. It would have been the full name, but apparently there was a band already at the time that had that name, so he just dropped off the E so that it wouldn't get mixed up. And now it's kind of, I think it looks cooler, to be fair.
I think it's a really good name. Like, everybody looks forward to The Weeknd. Like, it's a very, very cool. It's a really cool name, I must admit. Because the first time I heard the name first, and I remember thinking, like, wow, this has got to be some really cool, like, amazing rapper with that name. And when he starts like singing, I was like, oh, all right.
You set yourself up for failure with that one.
Yeah, for real. Like, that's a rapper's name if ever I heard one. But
that's strange. I can't disassociate it from him. So I can't imagine a rapper being called The Weeknd now. It's too melancholy, as you know.
True that. Yeah. Boy.
Yeah. So jump in. What did you think?
So, okay, this is my first real listen of The Weeknd ever. I've always heard the name. I've seen like bits and bobs of videos. I've heard, bits and bobs of songs throughout the years. This took me a while to get into, because at first and second listen, I was kind of like, stop moaning, stop whining, please. We get that you can sing. But then I started to read the lyrics and I started to get into his headspace. And I haven't actually done any sort of research on the time around the making of this album, I just thought that I would try and hone in and piece it together throughout. Um, this is an EP where I haven't actually taken notes. You know how I like to always take notes, right?
Sure.
This is the first time that I haven't taken any notes, because I think we could do, like, I think the individual songs don't matter that much. I think that the overall themes of the EP is very much loss and heartbreak, essentially.
Yeah.
And there are bits of hope in there as well. And the overall sound of the album is very, very much like the it's very, very The Weekend. There's nothing else
Yeah, I
really
can't
that
really describe it. Yeah.
yeah, there's and also to get a bit of perspective on The Weekend, I think that as a jumping off point, this EP, it was a bit of a struggle for me, because it didn't make an impact on me either way. Like, I didn't find that there was a song that that grabbed my attention. Like, for example, last week we did Rage Against the Machine. Each song is like very distinct. There's a hook. There's like a riff. There's something that will pull your attention in, right? And you'll latch onto that. And I found that with The Weekend, there's not really that to listen to. So, well, actually, tell a lie. Like, maybe on the third song, that was my favorite song.
Okay. Is that Wasted Times?
Wasted Times. That was my favorite one. I think that jumped out of the EP. But I also, for context, went and listened to the highlights, and there's another album as well, the one where he's bleeding.
After Hours.
After Hours. So I listened to those. Yeah, so I listened to those just to kind of understand a little bit more about his style and the way that he likes to present his music. And there is a distinctness in the sound. So,
yeah,
with regards to my Dear Melancholy, it's obviously sort of a more downbeat, sort of more subtle, and it's a very, very roomy experience. There's lots and lots of reverb, lots and lots of delay on stuff, and so everything kind of has an ethereal kind of sound and an ethereal kind of quality. And also the fact that his voice is actually really, really good. I must admit, I can understand. I found it very, very difficult to start off with his voice, because I was like, "You're not grabbing me." Like, his voice sounds to me like there's a bit of Bruno Mars in there. There's a bit of like Childish Gambino in there. You're obviously influenced by Michael Jackson, because you can hear it with the little pops and the whoops and stuff like that he does, right?
Yeah.
And part of me was like, how dare you besmirch Michael Jackson's memory? How dare you? But at the same time, look, it works in the context of the song. I don't know. This one was it's a grower. It's really weird. Like, it's the more I listen to it, the more I get used to the style. But it's very, very difficult for me, as a complete newbie, to sort of judge this, because I needed to see the body of work
for sure
that he's done. And now I kind of think I get The Weeknd a little bit more as an artist. But do I think that he's like as amazing and should be as massive as he is? I'm like, he's okay. Like, I don't think that he's like amazing though. That's maybe where I need to maybe I need to sit with him as an artist for a while. Or maybe I need yourself to bridge the gap. Like, why did you choose this EP for me?
I don't know. I had a couple in mind for what to give you, and they were kind of R&B, soul kind of based. And then at last minute, I saw this one on the list, and I was like, I felt like the other ones would be maybe too easy. Like, you would.
Fair enough.
My assumption was that you would gel with them not straight away, but at some point. This one felt a bit more like, it's because obviously there's the MJ influence in there. He has the great singing voice, but on this particular project, it's like the Drake album, where there's loads of space and the production is very, very moody, and he's not always displaying his greatest like like outwardly displaying his vocal chops on here. So I didn't want to necessarily give you an album of his where he is doing all that. I just wanted to see how, and I knew that you said before that you hadn't really dived into The Weeknd like that. So I was like, okay, this would be an interesting one for you to just go into. It's short, and also it's just, yeah, just, you know, this for me is weird because when I first heard it, I maybe I loved the first song, and then yeah, Wasted Times, because that one popped out as sounds a little bit different, sounds almost a bit summery, but still a bit downish when you like really listen to what he's saying. And I was like, okay, yeah, but the rest of it, it just kind of flew past me. So you're right, it even was a grower for me, and I've been a big Weeknd fan since college. So like he dropped these mixtapes like House of Balloons and Thursday and something else, can't remember what it's called, and all in the same year. And he basically just wrote and recorded them at his house and whatever. They're very like low key, low budget kind of, but they sounded great. Like he really cut through on those songs. He even has like a Dirty Diana, what you call it? Would you call it a tribute? Yeah, cover, but it's very up to date, and it's like got even like these bigger kind of harsher, more modern sounds in it, but it still retains the kind of the dark feel of the original,
raw aggression of the
original.
Wow.
It's just called DD as well. So I didn't notice from the track list that it would be that until I started listening. I was like, oh shit, okay. And then I think on streaming services, he's got an album called Trilogy, which is just those three put together. And yeah, so I've always liked The Weeknd like that. And then he dropped an album called Kissland, which I've still not heard to this day. I don't know why. I just didn't listen to it when it came out. I would have thought I would. Beauty Behind the Madness came out when I was at uni, and that was like the pop off one. That's where there's like a lot of like the dark themes, but they've been like expanded into the kind of pop universe, if that makes sense. And because he has some very like deep sexual songs and like deep kind of a lot of obviously like how would you say them, like girl songs or romantic songs or whatever. I don't need, I feel like I can't call them romantic. They're like and they're not even like hedonistic. What are they? They're like I can't pinpoint what it is. Like, you know, there's like that dark kind of sensual kind of almost depraved kind of music.
Thing. Yeah.
It's like nighttime kind of music, like, and you know, more kind of in your mind, in your thoughts, in your feels type stuff, right? As opposed to an outward kind of, I want this girl, and you know, we've got this kind of romantic thing, whatever. It's less on the nose like that. It's more like what's going on kind of, you know, late at night when you're by yourself and you're kind of thinking about someone and you know they're thinking about you, that kind of thing. He like really taps into that kind of mind and that lack of emotion, even though he brings out emotion in his singing. When you really deep down what some of the stuff he says, there's like this almost like lack of emotion on the surface. Like, I just do this. I just do it because I want to and I can. And like the kind of depravity thing I was talking about before. But then on this project, it's like, it's weird because his last album before this was called Starboy, and it had this much bigger sound to it, and it had some more kind of upbeat, poppier songs on it. And it's like, oh, okay, he's just in this groove now. He's kind of off that dark stuff. He's kind of he had some of it on there, but it was a bit more poppy. I really liked that album. And but then this one comes and it's like back to dark. And I think I only found out afterwards that this coincided with around the time he was dating someone and he had just broken up with her, and she was someone famous. I want to say it was Selena Gomez, but I don't know if I'm just mixing her up with a bunch of the other people that I kind of know about off the top of my head.
That rings a bell. I think he was with her, right?
Yeah, but this is back in like what, 2016, 2017? So I can't remember.
If only there was a handy tool.
Yeah, that's true. If only we could just look it up like on the spot.
If only there was like a net, a web, if you will.
Worldwide, in it. But it is what it is, man.
Oh, there you go. Like top result. Selena Gomez.
Yeah. So it was her.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Really, Selena Gomez?
Yeah. That's so basically that's who he's talking about throughout
throughout this
this
album.
EP.
Yeah. And you can really like hear that. The thing is as well, I think that, you know, obviously albums hit differently at different times in your life. So when we were talking about, say, Kofi Stone, for example, there was definitely like, not only did I love the music in the album, but I could definitely see where there was a time in my life where I would have this album would have hit completely differently.
For sure.
I actually think that this EP may have done the same, because it is
in the day.
back in the day. Yeah, I think like, even, you know, it just, maybe if I was a bit younger, maybe it would have hit me in a certain form or fashion. I mean, I just think that, as an EP, I get the concept. Like, My Dear Melancholy, it's already, without even listening to it, you're like, well, it's going to be a little bit dark.
And the cover art as well.
And the cover art is, you know, basically this guy's heartbroken, you know.
You can tell.
But also, like, in some of the lyrics, I mean, like, I've got it all here. So, like, on Call Out My Name, for example, I mean, I just love this lyric when he says, you gave me comfort, but falling for you was my mistake. I was like, wow, dude. Like, you know, it's not
that really hits something, right?
It's not really amazingly deep or anything. There's nothing to unpack here. I find that, like, it's really on the nose, like, this album. So it's very, very raw and also very, very real. So there is something to latch onto there. It's just, you know, I kind of hear also the depravity and stuff, like, of him, because he says, like, later on in this song, like, I put you on top. Like, it's not just top of my priorities. He's talking about,
he's talking sexually as well.
Position. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just, you know,
he does that a lot.
Yeah, he's not really, you know, he's not like an amazing, like, wordsmith, you know, like Eminem levels of you know, darkness, for example. But I think that the reason why he's, you know, in speaking to you, actually, I coming back to a point I made earlier on, saying I don't know why he's as big as he is, because I think he's talented. I think he has a particular sound. I just don't. He doesn't blow me away, like, at all. And I've listened now to this EP and 2 other albums, and I'm like, okay, he's fine. I think that the reason why he does appeal to people is because he is so on the nose. He sort of brings people along on the ride, right? Like, I feel like this because of this, and you know, you can identify with that when you lay something out so basic, when you don't have to dig. I guess that's, you know, maybe that's a part and parcel of culture at the moment. Like, we don't like nuance. We like to know and stand exactly where we are, you know. We like to know where we stand, I should say. But also, this music is in my wheelhouse, right? There is something. So let me explain. I love the production. It's top drawer. You can hear a pin drop in it. It's that clean and crystal. Like, it's amazing. There's a lot of elements in there. You know, the drum patterns are pretty much the same, but it's very, very chilled out music. You know, bass lines are nice, lovely ethereal, like, pianos. Lovely. It sounds great. And his voice is good. The problem is, I don't know why. Like, I don't know why I don't quite gel with The Weeknd. And I don't know if it's to do with time or just taste. But I don't feel like there's not enough for me to get my teeth into on a musical sense. There's no doubting his vocals, because his vocals are wicked. They're really, really good. Would I say that they're top tier? Like, you know, he ain't no Luther Vandross, for example. Like, he ain't top tier, like, at all. But he does. He is better than a lot of the, you know, singers out there, most definitely. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I can't quite bridge the gap in this instance.
That is interesting to think about, because I mean, you know, when you were talking about, when you mentioned Rage Against the Machine and how there's a clear hook and this and that, and you can distinguish or whatever. It's funny because actually, when I was listening to that, I remember in the episode I was saying that I couldn't really distinguish between the songs, right? That hard, right? It was new territory for me. it all kind of blended into the background. And this, I can understand it doing that, right? Whereas for me, I guess having been like a seasoned Weeknd listener or fan, or even of this type of music, which is kind of popular now, right? It's kind of darker, moody kind of aesthetic. It's I can pick apart the nuances because I think the most I was going to say that we mentioned Wasted Times as being like the most sonically different, but then actually I would say even Call Out My Name, those drums are so hard and like hip hop esque in terms of their grit, like when they hit and they're a bit off. Like there's a part in the second verse when he comes in and he says, I said I didn't do anything for you, but I lied. And when he says but I lied, it sounds like the drums fall in, like not like they're perfectly come in on beat. And it always adds this kind of strange kind of live feel, like they're just kind of dropping in and snare then comes in after. It's like again, it's the synesthesia thing where I can't describe exactly what I'm seeing when that happens. And it will sound so fucking weird if I try to describe how the drums sound or look in my head. But yeah, there's, for me, for some reason, the first 3 songs on this resonated with me when I first ever heard this, actually, except for Try Me. So it was just Call My Name and Wasted Times. But then over time, the other ones started to come up like in my head. And this is the thing with The Weeknd, is that I might listen to an album of his once and then maybe not again. But then when I come back and listen to it, when I hear some of the songs that I didn't give enough kind of time to, I feel like I already know them. And I don't know if that speaks to his popularity, that maybe I've just heard some of these songs used in places like in adverts or this and that, or in snippets of things, or I've seen live performances and he's doing that song. I don't know. It could be a case of his popularity, because even back in the day when he dropped Beauty Behind the Madness, I remember listening to that album. I hadn't really checked out the singles except for one. And I remember listening to that album and there was these like 3 songs back to back where I was like, why do I feel like I've heard all these before? Sure. Like, what is it? Why do these sound so familiar? And I couldn't, but then when I don't know if you ever end up with this feeling where you listen to like songs and you think, I don't know this song very well, but I feel like I recognize it. And you're like, maybe it's just very popular. But then you're like, but where exactly have I heard it? Because this is not getting played in like the background in Tesco. This is not getting played on adverts that I'm watching on TV. And I don't really watch TV like that with adverts. You know what I mean? So like I don't watch live TV. So what where am I hearing this? And where else am I? Like on Twitter, on Instagram, but where? Like who's playing it?
Yeah. It's amazing how passively you can intake, like sort of take in music, right? It's amazing how you
kind of stays in your subconscious, right?
Without you even knowing. It's weird. Like I used to have that. I think they're Scandinavian duo. They're called Royksop. I think I'm saying that like wrong. Because it's got like a weird umlaut over the O, so it might be Royksurp or something. Anyway, and they might not even be Scandinavian. Like I don't know, but I know like loads of their albums. But I remember one of their early ones, like a good like 20 odd years ago, and I was like, why do I know? Why do I know all these songs? And I think it's, you know, in the background of adverts or, you know, videos that you randomly see online, you just kind of hear them without hearing them, you know, and then you absorb that, and then when you hear them on an album or EP, you're just like, hey,
I've heard that before.
Yeah, it's weird how
it's
things like
strange,
that happen.
Isn't it? I guess it works in the same way as you know, when things just in general seep into your subconscious, except that when it comes to things like music, it's almost clear. It's a bit more clearer that that's in your subconscious, because it's something you can kind of hear and recognize. Whereas if you're just talking about ideas or values or certain, I don't know, stereotypes, it's a bit harder to realize that those things are in your, they're less obvious. Do you know what I mean? Whereas music, it's like, I recognize that tune. It's like a clear kind of point of recognition, which is, that beat, that's in the back of my head, right?
Yeah, depending on the type of like sort of music sensitivity that you have, whether you're like somebody who is quite musical by nature or not. I guess your subconscious latches on to
certain things, right?
certain things, like whether it be like, for me, it's always going to be the tune. So it's always going to be like the bass and the guitar, like, or like 9 out of 10 times that's the first thing that I go for, or piano and bass, whatever. But it's always something with the bass.
Sure, I was going to say centered around a bass.
Yeah, basically, bass is the soul. But anyway, yeah, and I find that, you know, coming back to like this album, I find that it's. Here's my problem with it. I think that the emotions are real. I just feel that the music is kind of empty. But that I think is down to design. Again, it's kind of like the you know the room.
It's a bit hollowed out.
Yeah, precisely. And I think it's designed for people who are in like a heartbreaking situation. You know, I think it's designed for people in whether it be a heartbreak or whether it be like, I don't know, a bereavement or something. I think it's designed for people to just sit there and just kind of cry it out, because that's the one takeaway from this whole EP, dude. It's about loss.
Yeah, man.
And you feel it and express it in different ways. And, you know, you could be an alpha male like me on my first listen and be like, top cry, man, top cry. Well, you know what I mean? Just like, what are you crying about? Like, all you need to do is stiff up a lip, bro, and like you'll get over it. You're famous. Like, don't worry about that. But, you know, talking about being, you know, artists, you know, you and I, we're sort of creative and sensitive. And actually, you know, The Weeknd is a person who is expressing or expressed how he was feeling at that time. So by all means, do you, dude. And I think it would definitely be therapy for some people. Like, oh man, you can just pull any lyric. Like, I'm genuinely just like pulling any lyric from any song. So on Wasted Times, oh man, like, wasted times I spent with somebody else. She wasn't even half of you, reminiscing how you felt. And even though you put my life through hell, well, okay, that's a rebound. Wasted times, you know. And it gives you a little bit of information on the journey that he's taken. It's a very it's super honest. Like, this whole
it's really
thing,
raw,
you know?
isn't it? Yeah,
it's totally raw, and it's not thinking man's music like at all. This is pure like emotion and feeling. And well, you know, it was cool. And then also the next track is like, I Was Never There.
Yeah.
What makes a grown man want to cry? Good Lord. Loss. Loss makes a grown man want to cry. Doesn't matter what kind of loss. Loss.
That would tell you. Yeah.
And the thing is, if any of our listeners are listening who haven't experienced loss, you've lived a charmed life, but I don't think you get to adulthood without some scars, without some kind of trial and tribulation in your life, you know.
Sure.
I think that we can all relate to it, and I think on a personal level, this album, I mean, 10, 11 years ago, this would have been a bit of me. It would have hit me completely different. But now that I'm sort of older, stronger, and a little bit more sort of, I'm a little bit more at peace up in my brain and my heart. You know, I think that it's not the right time for me to listen to this. You know what I mean? It sounds like
that's interesting.
Yeah. I think because like, I've also got this thing, like, when I was listening to his other albums, I find him he's quite a complex dude. Like, without knowing, I know nothing about The Weeknd. Okay, I don't know his real name. I don't know where he comes from or anything. I have not gone into his backstory. But I think he's one of the few artists which are he seems quite unafraid to let you in. And I think that's a really, really brave thing. Maybe I'm trying to talk myself into liking him, but you know what I mean? I think that
you want to like him, basically.
So I want to, but I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know what it is. I can't.
I've had that before. Yeah.
I can't reconcile it in my head.
I wonder if did you say you listened to After Hours?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you like that album?
So I only listened to it once. Wait a minute. After Hours is the one with him bleeding, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
There was one song on there. I didn't mind Blinding Lights, but that's again word association with All of the Lights, I think, by Kanye. And
Oh,
also
okay.
and also the fact that Blinding Lights is that Streets track, which is one of the best tunes
Oh yeah, of
ever
course. Yeah, yeah, of
made.
course.
So I think that's word association there, because
Yeah, I get that as
anytime I
well.
think
Where
about that, I'm like,
I
yep,
see that and
cool.
I think, yeah, it's got to be a good tune. Like just by the name of it. Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah. No, do you know what? I would be wrong to say any song, because I don't really remember it off
Sure.
this
Yeah.
album. I remember the highlights a bit more.
Okay. I've not listened to. I don't even know what that is. Like I've seen it, but I don't. I'm not even. I don't know what it's meant to be.
Oh, mate, I don't know. There's a tune with that's it, Daft Punk, called Starboy on it, and I'm like, that's different. That's all right.
Oh, is this like a greatest hits thing or
I
something?
don't know,
Because
mate. I just think it's
Starboy
called.
was from a previous album, and that's a good tune.
So there you go. The highlights. Maybe it's a compilation of all of his
Oh,
different stuff.
okay,
Then, like,
that makes sense.
I didn't know, because Blinding Lights is on the most recent album.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
on After
After
Hours, I
Hours.
think.
So yeah, maybe highlights is.
Mm.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I listened to a compilation album. Maybe that's why I gelled more with that.
Yeah,
Because there's a
sure.
couple of really good tunes on there. Like,
Mm.
he plays with a bit of drum and bass. So I was like, yep, cool. Like, I'm.
Yeah, what song does he
Now
do that
you
on?
got me.
What song does he do that on? The drum and
Uh,
bass thing.
oh goodness, it might be In Your Eyes. I have to listen to it. Hang on, let me put
Oh yeah,
myself on mute.
that's in Beauty Behind the Madness, I think. Yeah, but yeah, I didn't really like After Hours. I wasn't really a fan of that kind of sound.
I'm still trying to find it. Hold on. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It wasn't that
Okay.
song. But no,
Oh, okay. Fair. Yeah.
there's a couple of he's got like a lot of commercial stuff, and I can see why
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he's big as he is. I just find that
Yeah.
I come back to my earlier point though, bro. Like I just don't understand why he's as big as he is, because I don't think he's that amazing. I think he's good, but I don't think he's as amazing as people are making him out to be.
That's interesting. I'm trying to think. Have I ever just flat out said, "Yeah, The Weeknd is amazing," without it being a what's the word, like a casual use of the term, in terms of, oh, I just really like his music. Yeah, he's amazing. But actually, in terms of an intellectual discussion about why is he amazing, I'm trying to think now. I think I just personally, it might be just personal things. Like I gel with his voice and his
Mm-hmm.
vocal style, and then I also like the type of production that he tends to be on. I think that's why when I listen to After, my problem is that I feel like I was set up for his new album, that the one that dropped last year, because uh, what were the singles? Um, there was a single on there produced by Metro Boomin. You know him, right? He's like a newer producer. He's worked with like Future and Drake and people like that. He's got a lot of like big trap bangers.
Yeah, I've seen the name around
Yeah,
on
Metro
albums, so
Boomin.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, go on.
he's a big name like that, and so I was like, oh, I love this kind of thing. The Weeknd and that kind of sound. Yeah, that kind of deep, kind of dark, moody, kind of sexual tension type shit. Like, and maybe because I am still in my 20s or whatever, that shit just kind of resonates with me, and I'm just like, okay, cool. And then I think I heard another song. I was like, okay, cool. Looking forward to the album, right? And I see the front cover with the blood going down his face, and he's changed his look, so there's like a new era, and I'm like, sick. First song on the album, cool, dark, moody. Second song, I think it's called Too Late. Yeah, perfect, fits that mold again. And then it goes off into this fucking super like 80s themed music, which is cool, but why?
So what album is that? Oh man, hang
After
on.
Hours.
Is that this one?
That's the After Hours one.
Oh, because I started listening to. I think I started listening to that, and after the first 3 tracks, I was like, no, I'm not having this.
Yes, that's exactly the same thing that happened to me. There was a song I fully turned off of it. I tried again, turned off at the same song.
But this is the thing. So yes, there's 80s nostalgia, and that was sort of brought to the fore by Stranger Things. But then you've heard Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. They're
Oh, of
doing
course,
that
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of, like, going back to the sort of 70s Soul Train kind of way of doing things. And like, while I do appreciate things like, paying homage to the past and stuff, I'm like, yeah, but do it better.
Right.
So, my whole family, like my siblings, were vibing about Anderson .Paak and Anderson .Paak
Bruno Mars.
and Bruno Mars.
Mm.
And I listened to the song and I was like, this has been
Really?
done genuinely.
Oh, okay. It's probably from that perspective, I guess.
From that perspective, I was very much, I appreciated the paying homage to what has come before. And, it's good quality music. It just didn't resonate with me because
Sure.
I still like the old stuff that was done at the time, the contemporary, the stuff that was, done and forged at the zeitgeist, so of the time. And while there is nothing wrong, this is just down to my own, personal ish, really. Like,
Of course,
what I mean?
yeah, of course, yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just it doesn't vibe with me at all. And also same with the 80s theme. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, I felt that this was very much a tropey kind of thing. This is by the numbers 80s stuff. There are ways to incorporate it though. Like a band called Muse, what they did was they did a song called Panic Station, right? And it this is back in 2014, 13, 14 on whatever album it was, right? But it was very much an 80s-esque song.
Sure.
But it was done in their way. Do you know what I mean? Sure, it took inspiration from the 80s and with the 80s sound. So they're a three-piece band. And so the guitar sounded 80s, the drum sounded 80s because they got like a synth pad, and then the bass was as 80s as it gets, right? But they did it in a way which made it well, that's a Muse track. So I think that with artists, like, by all means, take inspiration from it. It's all there, definitely, but do something different. Don't just regurgitate what you think the 80s were, because it was a hell of a diverse
that's the thing,
type of music, right? And it's the Weeknd sort of stepped into the poppy kind of trope stuff, whereas if he lent into, I don't know, if he lent into bands like the Talking Heads, or he could do like Fleetwood Mac. They were around at that point, right?
Right, yeah.
I know everyone's covered Fleetwood Mac, and they are way more inspirational than you or I can imagine when it comes to like music and pop music.
For sure.
I didn't realize this. That might actually be a deep dive. Like, it's not really my type of music or wheelhouse, but we should definitely just see where the inspirations have come from. Like Fleetwood Mac.
I know. I've noticed it more and more often. Yeah, because my dad used to have the Rumors album. We used to listen to that every now and then, and that was one of those things. It didn't end up in the rotation as much as something like Stevie Wonder and MJ would. It was like
naturally
it's too easy for that to get lost in the sea of, like, if you're going to talk like Inner Visions and Songs in the Key of Life and Thriller and Dangerous, compared to like Rumors, is not a bad album, not at all, but
not at all.
In that rotation, we, me and my brothers and that, were not really pushing for to listen to that. We were pushing for the other stuff. But like, you're right, I've noticed it more and more. I've noticed it, how timeless it is as well, like how much people, like even just younger people, just even if it's just that one album, see it on a lot of playlists. I see it get mentioned a lot. But yeah, back to the 80s thing. I always find it's one of those things that how am I going to say this? I feel like I need to phrase this the right way so that I don't come off dismissive or rude.
Listen, man, look, it's your own podcast. Like, be rude if you want to. Let's set fire to some stuff,
Yeah, I always feel that kind of like rush to do that, but then because I get the platform, but then I'm like, nah, I want it to actually get through what I'm trying to say.
For real.
But so for me, I'm just gonna say it the way it's come off in my head. Sometimes I feel like people dick ride certain eras of music and don't give it enough kind of nuance or kind of perspective. So in hip hop, there's always the 90s era, right? It's everything gets compared to the 90s or the golden age, right? And which the golden age is not even the 90s, right? The golden age is actually before the 90s. If you actually look at what people are mentioning, right? But whenever it's like, it's always Oh yeah, I just love 90s hip hop, man. I love that real hip hop, man. I just, yeah, and they'll list off some fucking MCs, and you're just like, I like that shit too. But okay, what's that got to do with the news? Like, what did you want it to just stay like that forever and ever and ever? It's like, did you just want it to stay the same throughout?
Mm,
And I feel like sometimes people do that with the 80s as well. And I mean, people always talk about how the 70s was like one of the greatest eras of music. Fine,
because
cool,
it was.
I get that. Yeah, but why do you have to keep using that to downplay what gets put out now? Like, it's okay if you just don't like the stuff that comes out now.
Oz, check this out.
Like, cool.
When it is to do with perspective, right? When are you at your sort of most musically vulnerable, or sorry, not vulnerable, but at your most musically
almost
receptive.
Like inclined. Receptive. That's it. That's the word.
Yeah. So for me, when I look back on the formation of my musical taste, definitely started with my parents. But I think that when I was growing up, it seemed to be like an explosion of just new music. And also, like, we were getting lots and lots of good music channels. MTV Base, it had you covered with not only commercial stuff, underground stuff. It had everything.
Yeah.
And it would, if you liked a certain type of R&B, you stick on MTV Base for an hour, at least half an hour, you would be listening to tunes that you genuinely like. You're not wasting any time. But if you wanted to experiment and see other new channels and stuff like that, MTV2 was one of the best things that ever happened to me, right? So I will look back at, because on MTV2, that's where I first heard of NERD, first time I heard of Kelly's, first time I heard like Linkin Park and stuff. So like Daft Punk, like 07, whatever, drum and bass, whatever was kind of alternative, right? And so when I look back, I think, oh my goodness, that time of wonder, it was amazing. And when it comes to R&B and hip hop, when it comes to R&B, for me, the golden age was like 98 to about 2004.
Sure.
Of like, that's for me, right? But then I, at the risk of sounding, big headed and sort of obtuse, I could say that, but I could say that, music hasn't gotten better than that. Well, no, whoa.
Yeah.
There are other artists that came out and there were other waves. Just because you weren't paying attention to it, and
exactly
me talking to myself, like, just because you weren't paying attention to it, David, doesn't mean that music has gone down the pan. Like, it's always evolving. It's always moving. And I think that's why people, so like our parents, for example, my mum was telling me today, literally, about reggae rave she used to go to. Oh, the reggae never got any better than it did in the 70s, I'm telling you.
Right.
Okay, but it's still going on now. And now you're getting nice little offshoots. There's like this guy called Chronix, who it's like
he's good. He's really, really good.
It's like neo reggae. It's like almost
that's true. I couldn't pinpoint what his sound was. I was like, this is not like R&B or anything, but it's not fully like the reggae, like the stuff that my dad would play, like the Bob Marley and stuff like that. It's like, but it has a new kind of sound. Yeah, neo
reggae.
Neo what though? Neo reggae. Sick.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to my sister about it ages ago, and that's the kind of that's how when I look at like music and stuff, like I say to my mum, you've checked out Chronix, right? You know who? Oh, I don't know. Who's another good one? Popcorn, for example, right? You know who he is and stuff like that. Why don't you check out other things? And she's like, wow, this really is good. Yeah, because
like surprise,
it's not the golden age like anymore from what you remember. You think it's a golden age because you were in your prime then. Like, do you know what I mean? You were discovering. Exactly. And I think that's where we kind of need to get out of our own way. Like, music is always dynamic. And I do think, for example, I think that music is always moving. And I do think, though, that the kind of artists that are making the music are hollowing out. They're a bit more shallow. They're a bit more superficial. Like, maybe the figures making the music are the problem.
I think it's the stuff around the music, right? Yeah,
correct.
It's the stuff around the culture around the music might be changing. You can make the argument for that. I mean, you could talk about radio. Like, you could talk about how radio is not as diverse anymore. Yeah, I'd agree with you on that because it's become more homogenized. It's like you kind of have to. You always hear the same shit just played over and over again, and it's because it kind of rewards that. Whereas I get when people say, oh, well, back in the 90s, you could have this artist and this artist and this artist all from making different types of hip hop. So you had people who had bangers, some people who had like Talib Kweli with like with conscious stuff, and then you'd have like Dre and Snoop, and you'd have this guy and this guy,
like Mos Def just making Mos Def stuff.
Exactly, but it get played on the radio. Whereas now it's kind of like
you got to sound like Drake.
Yeah, literally, you have to sound like Drake or Migos or whoever else in order to get played, or you get or you get told that that's what you have to do. That's another thing. There's all these perceptions around things like your songs have to, your songs can't be above 2 minutes and 30 seconds, bro. People are not going to pay attention. It's like, really? I still pay attention. Like, I'm not on my ones here. Like,
oh man,
and but it's just these perceptions that just go around, and people just make these big generalized statements like, oh, but no one listens to albums anymore. What? All I hear is album discussions when I go on Twitter. There's loads of people like, we still get album reviews, we still get album award nominations, right?
What do we do?
What are we doing, right? But it's just people just generalize, and it comes back to this point you made, I think, closer to the top half of this episode, where you talked about our culture now having less nuance, maybe, right? And being a bit more kind of knowing where you stand. I think people do that. They take one thing, they watch one documentary, they hear one statement, and blah, blah, blah. Suddenly that is it. That's what it is, and that's all it ever is, as opposed to seeing it as just a part of a bigger kind of entity. You know what I mean? And with music, like, yeah, I think you're 100% right. It's the perspective, right? Like, it's how is it that you happen to be born at the time when the best music just happened to be made, and then it just stopped as you got older, right? Like, do you know what I mean?
There are exceptions to that, though. So, for example, sorry to just cut in, though. I just had a thought.
No, cut in, man.
When I was thinking about like Soul Train and stuff, when you had that era of like, funk and soul and dance, and disco, for example, if you were a young person listening to disco, disco came and went, and now we still go and we listen to that kind of stuff, and there are elements of disco in some of the music out there, not much, but I think you get attached to certain movements in music, and that's why you would say, like, hang on, it never got better than that.
Sure, I understand that, because actually I do find myself getting a bit like, oh man, I wish again, it's not really I don't know if it's the music, it's like, I know I'm sitting here saying, like, how is it that you happen to be born at this time and then it just stopped after you went out of your prime? That's a bit suspect, isn't it? Right? Because I see that with a lot of things, not even just music. It's always, oh, this country's going to shit. Everything was much better back in my day, right? And it's like, really? Like, every human evolution should have just stopped at your kind of prime, and that's it. Just that's when we've reached perfection, right? It's they don't understand that they're just blinded by their perception. I guess with music, it's something that you can actually stop and look back on, right? And we can actually go back and check it out, right? And sometimes I find myself getting a bit envious of, like, oh man, I wish I was kind of around when this particular culture was big,
mate. Right? I wish I was around. That's what it is. I wish I was around for like the Thriller video. I was talking to my mum about it, and she said, "Oh my goodness, like, it was an event. We'd never seen anything like it. This was amazing." It's I totally understand what you're saying there. Like, getting envious of certain time periods. Sorry, I cut in there again.
No, fully, because that's a good example. I'm always like, man, I wish I was. I'm so interested in what it was like to be active during that time, when to be in your prime, when it's like MJ was active, and when there was no Dangerous album, there was just Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad, and the two other ones that he did before that. Like, what was it like? What was your thoughts about him then? Like, we can look back in hindsight, but at the time there might have been people who are like, man, I hope this new album's not shit. Whereas we're thinking, bruv, how can you ever say that about Dangerous, right? Like, such an amazing album. But back then, it was like this kind of anticipation and kind of, man, I wonder if it's going to be any good. And
I remember when
used to the songs.
I remember when that came out, and it was the best listening experience. Oh man, we had it on CD, and I've said it in the last.
How did you hear it? Like,
so it was just in my living room. My mum bought it. She played it. It wasn't even a case of we had to wait for it. As soon as it dropped, it was in our house. You know,
nice.
You know, we had. I think we still got it up in my parents' loft. The bad, like vinyl, like original vinyl, and like it's so striking, like that. You know, that era. So it was bad, and then quickly followed by boom, Dangerous. And as soon as we got, honestly, Dangerous is one of its. Do you know what? It might be top 10 albums, I think, of all time, just because of.
I agree.
Every song is a complete banger. Like one of my
slow ones.
Will You Be There is one of the most well-conceived songs I have ever heard in my life. You know, there are so many hills that I'm prepared to die on this podcast. Like, Will You Be There? My goodness.
Yeah. Who's debating that? Who? Who's coming? Who's stepping in here and debating that?
Like, no one can. Okay, if you come and like, anyway,
you're gonna get washed. Your opinion is getting bodied on site.
Oh my goodness! Speaking of being washed, right? Complete tangent, right? I saw this tweet. Basically, somebody said, "Who would win with prep time, Batman or Kevin McAllister from Home Alone?"
They're on the same playing field.
And the consensus, like from what I could see, was Kevin McAllister would wash Batman.
Kevin McAllister would body Batman because Kevin also comes from that. Well, actually, no, I was going to say I was going to say Batman's a billionaire and he has everything at his disposal. And if you put him in an environment where he didn't have it all at his disposal, I wonder how he would, face up. Then again, Kevin has the massive house. Yeah. And he actually does come from a family of wealth. So they're quite evenly matched. But Kevin did bits. So
against two grown men, but they weren't. See, Batman is meant to be like super intelligent, right? He's meant to be genius level. But I still think Kevin McAllister would beat him.
Also, Kevin's young. He has potential.
Exactly. That's the thing.
His opponents aren't Joker level or Scarecrow level, but still, he's showing promise at that young age.
If it was Kevin McAllister against Bane, like either the animated series version or the Dark Knight version, then it's a bit of a problem. Like, but Batman he could wash. But anyway, sorry, that just reminded me of that conversation. But back to it, like
it's interesting because, like, man, I just wonder what it was like. I keep asking my dad, like, what, like my dad when he said that when he first heard Bad, he was like okay on it because it's only after a while it kind of grew on him, and I think it's because when he got Thriller, he said he remembers he got the vinyl and he got it for his birthday. And because usually he would have to save up for the vinyl or whatever, right, to go out and buy it. And he would always talk about how, I think he always gets amazed at the fact that I know when albums are releasing and dropping and I listen to them on the first day and stuff like that. Or I just choose not to. Whereas for him, he'd be like, we might see a billboard or we might see an advert on TV or in a magazine about, Stevie Wonder's dropping a new album. Or you might just walk into the record store and it's like,
and it's there, yeah. Or your mates might recommend it.
Right. Yeah. It's a different culture, which I kind of get a bit envious about. And because I don't like the disposability of music now.
Agreed.
Because there's just too much of it, right? You'd think that would be a good thing. It's too much. But but when he got Thriller, he got it. That was one of the few times he got it almost straight away because it was a birthday thing. And I think the album came out before the video came out, right? I think according to his story, I'm not sure. I think Billie Jean and stuff were singles before the actual song was, or at least the video maybe came out afterwards. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Or maybe the single came out and then the video came out another time. But he'd got the album or something, and he remembers going to uni. He went to the same uni I did as well, right?
No
And
way, I didn't know that.
yes, it's interesting to like imagine. I can kind of picture it more when he tells the stories, because
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I used to live in those that accommodation, obviously probably a bit more modernized when I went there, but
True.
similar to what he had. And it's weird thinking about how when I was there was like speakers and a laptop set up and kind of music playing on Spotify or whatever. For them, it was like an actual like vinyl player and shit. Like it's just so different, like the stark kind of contrast. And he said he remembers getting the album and putting the album on and putting on the song Thriller. And there were people in the party who hadn't heard that song yet. They'd heard the singles that had come out before or something.
Sure.
Or maybe it was the single he got and he got it straight away and he played it, and he had people in there saying, "What song is that?" And him telling them. And this is like pre-video and all that sort of stuff.
That's amazing.
It's interesting. It's so weird to think that there were people there who heard that for the first time just at a party, like at a uni gathering. Like there was, I can't imagine being at uni and not having had all that music having already been made. You know what I mean?
It is really weird, isn't it, to
Yeah.
imagine the world. Like I'm a bit older than you, and I do remember the world without the internet. And I remember like going into HMV, going, it was always I had always made like enough money to buy like a CD like a month or something, right? And it would always be like Sophie's Choice, man, like Dre 2001.
Yep.
Or Erica Badu's Baduism.
And they're just so different as well.
But then you're like, oh, but there's D'Angelo. Oh, but then there's Michael Jackson History.
Oh shit! That must have been around the same time, right?
So History was 96, wasn't it?
Yeah, 96, 97.
History was 96, 97. Yeah. And then I wasn't making I had my first job at 15, so it'd been 99. So yeah, around that time. Yeah, around 99, 2000. And yeah, man, I just remember like you'd only have like a tenner, and that's enough for a banging CD, right? And that's the thing as well. I like the point that you made a few minutes ago, just saying just how disposable music is. And I think bringing it back to the Weeknd, this is how it kind of feels to me. Maybe that's why I'm not gelling with it, because I'm like, well, you're on the sort of conveyor belt, like it's okay for now. Is it going to last? Like, has it made a lasting impression? Does he, as an artist, grab me? And he doesn't really. Like, would I? Like, the ultimate test is, would I buy his CD?
Sure. If you put it back into that time, because I'm like you. Like, I know I'm a bit younger than you, but I feel like my generation that kind of grew up in this like in between time, like in this transition time where I remember not having phones. I remember not having the internet. I remember only kind of figuring out how to use the internet because my PlayStation broke. And because it was just all about just PS2.
Oh, PS2. Oh, mate. Oh, you're spoiled. Like I had PS1 with like
I had one of those before, but like Crash Bandicoot and all that sort of stuff.
Crash Bandicoot, yeah. I think there was Fighting Force. Oh, mate. PlayStation 1 was Tekken.
Before, again, Tekken as well. Before things got homogenized, remember there used to be like several different types of football games. Now it's just FIFA, right?
Yeah. I first started off on...
This is football and stuff like that.
Yeah, I first started off on ISS. So it was like International Superstar Soccer Pro, and that was made in like 96, and like you could only go in like 8 different directions, and like mate, like
and they're so slow when you look back in comparison, like the way they moved, even on Tekken, they're like so slow and like labored.
It's like a bunch of angry like squares, basically. Like, because at the time I remember my cousin had a PlayStation, like he got it early doors, and I remember he showed me Tekken, and I was like, who is this Yoshimitsu? But like it blew my mind. Like
Yoshimitsu was the guy.
Who is Yoshimitsu? But then, like by the time it got to like Tekken 3 on the PlayStation 1, Yoshimitsu
Tekken 3 was the one.
Listen, probably one of the best like examples of video game music. Fight me. This is another hill I'll die on. That Thunder Force 4 on the old Sega Mega Drive, and oh my goodness, Soul Blade, the best music you will ever hear. Fight me. fight me. I'm taking on everybody.
I can't debate you on that. So I'm not.
Oh, did you
I only
never
know
play
Tekken
Soul
3.
Blade?
I'd
So
heard
it's
of it,
called,
but no.
it's now called Soul Calibur.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
it's
I
the
know Soul
very,
Calibur.
very
Yeah, yeah.
first one of that.
Oh, I was gonna say I'd heard of Soul Blade, but I didn't know. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I got you. I got you. Yeah.
Mate.
Yeah. It's just it's weird though with all these things. It's like I kind of miss. I'm not gonna lie. Like I do miss. So that now I have like an Xbox One. I got it for my birthday last year, but
Okay.
I'm not really a gamer like that where I was like I could live without it for a while. And to be honest, after a while, it became that all I would really play is like GTA or Tekken, like with my brothers.
Sure.
And
Okay.
you know, I wasn't really. I wanted to be one of those. I don't know. Back when I was younger, I would like find games and like be like, I'm really into this, and I would see like same way I do with music. Like I would find new stuff and see reviews and watch like videos about them and stuff. And now sometimes I do it just out of interest, but I don't have that same push to kind of go and buy the game and play
I know
it.
what you mean.
And me and my brothers, when we got like our um actually I think we got an Xbox One for Christmas one time, or 360. We had a 360, but I think we upgraded. I don't know. See, I can't even keep up now. Like I just I'm just not in the loop, right? And there's certain like times where we had to like update and use the internet for certain things and for certain games and things like that. And we were like, what the fuck? Like where we used to live, just got such terrible internet. And it was like, I hate to sound like a fucking old head, but can I not just get the CD and put it in? Do you know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
very much like that, mate.
yeah, like when it comes to things like that, then I start thinking, can I just have the actual thing I want,
do the game, yeah,
and put it in and just play it? Why do I fucking need internet connection? Why do I need to buy extra shit? Why do I need to do this? And I get it. Like on my thing now, I have no CDs for my Xbox One. It's like I've got that Game Pass thing where I can just buy it off the store, which is perfect. It's like such a great idea, like a Netflix but for games, right? And yeah. You pay for the subscription, and you don't need any CDs and stuff. Great.
See, this is the thing. Like PlayStation are pretty good. Like they got the PlayStation Store, so you can just buy stuff without a subscription.
Yeah, we've got the Xbox Store. We've got the Xbox Store as well, so you can buy stuff without a subscription.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool.
But the Game Pass, the store is so that games will come onto the store, and you can just download them and play them. But then you might get a notification saying, "Oh, this game is going to leave the store."
I see what you mean. So is that why you pay the subscription, right?
Yeah, because then the new ones will come in and blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not a gamer like that.
See, I'm not enough of a gamer for me to be like, oh, there's this new game I want to try out and this and that. It's not really happening like that. There's only like a few select that I would do, but yeah, like going back when I was growing up, yeah, there wasn't. So when my PlayStation didn't work, I figured out how to use the internet, because like I just started just using the computer more and just figured out how to use it. And then yeah, like it's weird. I can't even remember what it was like without an iPhone. Like I remember having a flip phone and stuff, but I was never like addicted to it. And you know, I was never. Whereas I'm looking at my phone all the fucking time now, and I hate it. But like,
yeah,
it's so it's just annoying. But I do really relate to what you were saying about going into HMV, and I would try and find the 2 for 15s, 2 for £15. But unfortunately, there would be albums that I really wanted, and they weren't part of that fucking deal. And I was like, it's like they knew it. It's like they knew.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, it would be so irritating. I'll go through these mental gymnastics in my head, like, don't worry, maybe I can just, I know I want this money for something else, but maybe I can just wait a bit later. I'll get this now. I'll wait a bit later for the other thing I wanted. You know, it's like I was doing all that weighing up, and I'd literally be standing there in HMV for ages, just have like 4 or 5 in my hand, cycling through them as if looking at the cover was going to was going to change
Sophie's
anything.
Choice, mate. You're just like, yeah,
literally, like, and yeah, it did add a bit of attachment to it. You know,
definitely.
It slowed down the consumption. You had to kind of choose what you wanted.
Yeah,
and you know, you kind of got attached, and you kind of rinsed it out as much as possible, and you felt like you were adding to your library. Like, yep, I've got that. That's my collection. Yep, I bought that. That's my collection. Now, if I wanted to, I could go on Spotify and add every single album in there, and I could have a library full of albums and be like, yeah, look how big my collection is. It's not really my collection though. it's just
Mm.
it's just all in the app, and it's all just saved in there. And
That's it. There's no physical thing, and that is quite sad. Like, and
yeah,
also, right, I'll not forget this. I was going into HMV. I was just on my ones, right? I was going in.
yeah,
It's like, I've got a tenner in my pocket. It's burning a hole in there. What am I going to get? And I think I had a bank card with like a fiver in there, and there was a CD of Incubus, right? And it was £15, right, retail. And I was like, oh, the album's called Make Yourself. I've heard it already. I really, really like it. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
£15. I don't know. Oh, and like, when you're going up to the counter and you're
yeah,
basically trembling, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
I
You're
don't.
still going back and forth in your
Yeah,
head, like,
my
should I
parents are
really?
gonna. Yeah, my parents are probably not going to see the value in this, but like maybe if I
Yeah,
hide it from
definitely,
them, then so I'm
definitely.
there, and then basically like he scans it through, and he's just like, right, that'll be £2.99, and I was like,
Oh,
what? You've put the wrong thing, and like the title came up, like some kind of single was on there, and I was just like, yeah.
yeah, sure, go,
And I just
yeah.
handed it over, just like, yep, cheers, thank you very much.
Okay, yeah,
And then
great.
like,
I'll take my
and I
change.
said, oh, do you know what? I might just get one more thing. Dre, 2001 fiver. Thank you. Like, that's it.
Perfect.
And honestly, I came out of there, I was in bits. I was like, I can't believe it. And the album is one of my favorite albums still. Like, I love it.
For sure, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, especially at that age, when you're taking in a lot more music, you think that you're living in the best time to be alive. And I think that as you sort of grow on and move past that feeling, that initial feeling of discovery, thinking, oh my goodness, music is unbelievable, that will never leave you. And that's why people turn around and say, hey man, like back in 2020, like as I was in my music discovery stage, like music doesn't get any better than that. I've got artists like The Weeknd and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, people are going to do that, right?
People are going to do that. And the thing is, I think The Weeknd will fade like tears in the rain, to be honest. I don't know if I don't know if he's going to have like, so, okay, let me quantify it, right? You've got artists that can almost stop the tide of time. MJ, timeless. Prince, his music gets better with age. Like it really does. Tupac, like guys like that, absolute legends of the game, top of their craft, and unfortunately, they're no longer with us. Now, do I put The Weeknd in that kind of bracket? Is he in that conversation? It's not for me to say, like yes or no definitively yet, because not a lot of time has come by. And he's relatively new, I guess, in the game.
Yeah, like 2009 onwards. So he's been there about
what?
Yeah, he's been in the game he's been like underground. I'm pretty sure I heard of him in 2010, 2011, but you can still consider him part of the new guard, like in terms of his mainstream kind of popularity. Yeah.
So it's weird, right?
I think he blew in like 2014. I think that's when he really was like getting big time.
But isn't it weird? Because it feels like he's been around forever, but is still relatively new. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that long. Like I knew that I can't remember the first time that I heard of The Weeknd. All I know is he's been in the conversation, and it has been in the culture. 21st century culture for a long time.
He still feels new. New. He still feels new to me.
It still feels like Neil. Yeah, he looks like a Neil.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, as if he
flipping Neil. But yeah, okay, cool. I didn't realize he was like, coming up with like Drake and them. You know what I mean? Like Drake was active them times. So
he was running the mixtape days.
So in all fairness, then he's a legit OG. Like he's one of the old ones. So I personally don't think that he will, like, people will look at him in like say 20 odd years and be like, oh yeah, amazing. I think that there will be other artists that maybe do it better, but listen,
you can't tell until the time passes.
You can't tell, exactly, and this isn't a hill that I'm going to die on. So
yeah, this is just a thought I'm putting out there.
Yeah, I'm happy to be wrong about it, dude. Like, and I
just
find
talking about Drake though. It's like Drake kind of he could be on top of his game right now, and in terms of the mainstream numbers and all that sort of stuff. But again, it could go two ways. Does he become this timeless act that people keep talking about, or does he become someone who's just confined to these 20, 30 years or whatever. And
See,
people look back and, you know.
I don't think he, like, personally, I don't think he will either. I think he, yeah, I don't know what it is. I just
We
don't
don't
get.
know. Yeah, we don't know until
We're
time
just not going to
passes.
know.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when we're doing the K&D exchange in 30 years, you know, in our
subordinates are doing their little mini shows.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? In our mansion at that point, you know what I mean? Like, I'm moved into the burbs. But yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, time will tell. I mean, I just think that, you know, it's impossible to see who is going to be a legend.
Sure.
At this point, I mean, like, who knew that? You know, well, I don't know actually. Like when Amy Winehouse was like in her prime, for me, like I'd seen her on all sorts of shows and stuff, but you knew you were listening to a legend, like, straight away there.
Right. Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
It's
you know,
yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's like when we were talking about D'Angelo's album. It genuinely felt like the world's best kept secret, but I felt anyway, that this is an album that will stay forever. Like, it's a classic. Like, we knew it.
Sure.
And there's also, like, with regards to some legends, like Amy Winehouse is definitely one of them. Nobody can besmirch that lady's name. She was unbelievably talented. What a singer she
agree
was.
with you, man. Yeah,
man, so tragic. But
not many people know that, but I'm a big fan of hers. Like,
yeah,
I'm
a huge
her.
Yeah.
Which album is that I really love? Frank or
Back to Black.
Which Back to Black's really, fucking love that shit. But
Frank
I think that's
amazing.
The one where she's wearing the pink on the front.
Yeah,
and that's got Stronger Than Me and stuff like that.
What's the Two Ships Passing in the Night song as well?
I can't remember. But things that I came to Amy Winehouse after she died, like, but not because, you know, we had this conversation as well.
Yeah.
But not because she died. When she died, it was like, oh, that's a shame. It's just, I knew that she was like big, and I heard songs like Rehab and all that. You know, everyone had heard all her big songs. But then a few years later, my uncle just gave me a lot of music to listen to when I went to go visit him. And she just happened to be in there. And I remember just kind of it almost felt like I came across her as if I would have done normally.
Like, naturally. It
just happened to be that she had passed away. So I was just like, and then I was like, oh man, like I wish I kind of listened to this while she was still here, like in her prime, like, you know, because it's so fucking good. Like, I almost forgot that she had died. So there wasn't that there wasn't that bias, like, oh, I feel like I need to like it. It was just, fuck, man, like, this is really like hitting in a certain way. But yeah, like, because when you said Amy Winehouse, I was wondering, like, does she have legendary status? Because I wonder, is it a consequence?
She was already on her way.
But
genuinely, the way that the media, like, were hounding her and stuff, you knew that she was something special. Like, just listening to her on albums and stuff, like, her voice was completely unique. You never heard anything like it. Never. And she spawned so many other singers who tried to who saw what she did, who tried to do it in their own way, because there's only one Amy Winehouse. But I think of singers like Duffy and Paloma Faith and stuff, and they kind of had that essence, the Amy essence. I think they're a bit quirky and a bit out there and stuff. And I just found that Amy Winehouse kind of started something when it comes to singers. I find that like with new artists like Mahalia and what's her name? Snow something or other.
Snow Allegra.
She's amazing.
She's
I find that you can kind of hear that they're fans of Winehouse.
I never thought about that for Mahalia. I never thought about that for her.
Mate, it's big.
That's very subtle, right?
Yeah. I found that out. Is it Mahalia? I don't know. I'm old.
There's one way I used to say it, and then there was a video of her saying it the other way, and now I can't remember which one it is. So I had to change. Yeah, but I want to say it the right way. I think it's Mahalia.
Mahalia. Okay, cool.
I think so. I could be wrong. I could be so wrong on that. But yeah.
Call it MH. There you go.
MH, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that there's a real, like, it's tonal and very, very stylistically, like, this the same sort of vibe. But you know what I mean? Like, so taking this back to our guy, The Weeknd, I think that I don't like his voice doesn't grab me. Like, as I said at the start, Luther Vandross, that guy, that's a legendary singer. Like, give me that.
Sure.
Alexander O'Neill, give me that. Like, give me some of the crooners and stuff.
Sure.
You know, if you're going to give me a sort of higher pitched voice and stuff like that, yeah, cool. All right, Michael Jackson, Prince, like. But I don't know where the Weeknd fits, and so I think that I need to sit with him, man.
I think so.
I
My
really
brother would
need to
debate
sit
you
with him.
big time on this. My brother would debate you big time, like
Really?
on the Weeknd's kind of singing chops. Yeah, he's super into like his singers and vocalists, right? And he breaks it down to me like how the Weeknd does that, and
Sure.
he's watched like his acoustic sets and he's watched his live sets, and he's like,
That's
he'll be like,
the worth of it. Yeah.
yeah, he'll be like,
Yeah.
listen to this section, listen to the way he does that with his voice, and it's just so effortless and blah blah blah. And he doesn't, but he said to me even the other day, he's like, yeah, it's some of the Weeknd songs, he doesn't choose like the melodies I would choose. Like he kind of doesn't do the ones I think are like the best melodies or the best kind of
Sure.
singing things. And maybe for me, maybe then it's like, maybe it's the whole package thing that he does. Maybe that's why he kind of pops out so much. He really embodies that moody, atmospheric sound, and he just works his voice to work within that. And maybe within that space, apart from a song like Call Out My Name, where he can really just let go and really just show his range on that. But whereas a song like Try Me and Hurt You or whatever, he's kind of, he stays within the pocket of that mood.
Maybe it's because he's kind of doing what the song needs, as opposed to,
I think that's what he does,
playing it. You know, just I've got to show every single vocal arrangement and every single vocal piece of gymnastics that I can possibly do on this. You know, like the old R&B singers, like I don't know, Ray J or Omarion, for example, they would hit everything
they were just
that they
singing
could,
their hearts out on,
and it's just like
songs.
Stop.
Yeah, like on what's the song, like One Wish? Yeah, even in my head,
mate.
he's like doing everything. He's doing everything, and you're just like, I think that's hit a pointer for me for why I sometimes don't like certain R&B songs, because I'm just like,
I agree.
It sounds like you're just kind of trying, and that's probably why I don't like competition shows as well, because some of the singers on that always feel like they have to.
It's like it's just silos of artists.
Yeah,
it's like
they have to hit the high notes voice. And
exactly. You can't be unique on shows like that unless you are, I don't know, like Leona Lewis or something like that, where you've got the voice of an angel.
You already went in as an artist. You know what I mean?
I mean, Leona Lewis was something I don't think the world was really ready for. I could not believe how good that woman's voice was, whatever.
My partner loves her.
She's unbelievable. I listen to songs and I'm like, yeah, Beyonce would kill to have your voice. Beyonce's all right as well. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not, besmirching Beyonce, but there are levels here. And wow, Leona Lewis, like, you might be, creme de la creme up there.
But that's how it is sometimes, isn't it? Like when you have like the top tier guys, but like top tier mainstream people, but they're not always necessarily the best. Like even if we bring it back like to Drake, like, yes, he's the biggest rapper at the moment. Cool. But that doesn't make him the best rapper.
It embodies everything wrong with the 21st century. But anyway,
I wouldn't say that. But there are, you're right to your point. There are, there are levels, right? Like
I'm joking.
Yeah, I know. But but it works with your point. There are levels, right? Like, yeah, Beyonce's there. She's the whole package. But if let's isolate one thing. I think she can sing very well, but there are others who can give her a run for her money, though, right? Like, let's not try and act like it's just her and everybody else, right? People try and do that all the time, right? But
Whitney,
right. But for the Weeknd, I think he's embodying that whole package thing. You know what I mean? I think, he just fits that. I wasn't gelling for me, and I think that's why I like him so much. But I don't like the After Hours album because it's not on the production that I prefer him over. I had the same experience as you. I listened to the first 3 songs. I think as soon as that 3rd or 4th song hit, I was like, nope. I was out, tried it again. No. Yep. As soon as that song hit and it changed the vibe completely, it's like, nope, off. I didn't even listen to the other songs. I still keep meaning to, and I'm like, maybe I should just skip that one song. Maybe I just need to skip that song.
So in all fairness, I mean, like, I think that it's actually interesting that you say that, because maybe he, like what we were saying about, like, OGs of the rap game, like Common, for example, right? He sort of
Yeah.
he had such a strong body of work up until
Mm.
Universal Mind Control, and then it's an album that I don't necessarily like, but I
Mm-hmm.
respect the fact that he decided to
He
do
tried to
something
change up.
completely different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Decided, but then found out didn't really work. Feedback wasn't all that great.
Yeah.
Boom, out comes was it The Dreamer?
Oh
Um,
yeah, The Dreamer.
is it The
Dreamer
Dreamer?
Believer or something.
The Believer, The Dreamer, something like that. And then that album came out, and I was like, wow, he's back.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
my
back on
goodness
that
me,
shit, man.
this is amazing.
That
And I
album's
think
hard,
that
yeah.
The Weeknd is very, very Weeknd is very much his own artist. I really, really feel that he's an individual. Like, if you
Yeah.
you would know it's a Weeknd song if you've listened to, like, maybe 5 or 6 songs
You know it's him.
of The
Yeah.
Weeknd, and you hear something else new or whatever, you're like, yeah, that's him. Very,
Yeah.
very distinct. It's just, maybe it's, hit me at the wrong time. I don't really know. I don't really know his. I
His
don't
discography
know.
like that.
There's just something I don't know. There's something that I don't warm to, and that's the thing. I mean, I was gonna say, like, with regards to giving this out, the top 5 tracks. Well, there's no point because there's 7.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting listen, but it does take
Sure.
time. So I think,
Yeah.
again, will I revisit this album? I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever go back to it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I've
I can't
heard it.
imagine you really listening to it again. Like, why would you need to? Like, I can imagine, like, what would ever have you in that mood to ever listen to it? Because that's the thing. Sometimes albums can be
That's
great, but
it.
then it's like, when am I going to listen to this again? When am I going to feel to listen to it again?
Well, apart from when, my wife kicks me out and she's been seeing I don't know, the gardener called Paco or something, like, you know what I mean? She's just like, hey man, I've had enough of yo ass. Like, you need to go.
Get out.
Yeah, Paco's moving in. And he comes in like swinging this huge snake. Oh boy, and then I'll be like, The Weeknd.
Yeah, Weeknd. Come comfort me, please.
My Dear Melancholy, as I'm crying into the bins. But anyway,
in that scenario, then yeah,
that's when
we'll come back and ask your opinion. But
yeah, I don't know, man.
Let's hope you never have to listen to this again.
I hope he comes out with some, like, more sunshiny crap. Like, I think that, to be honest, I think that there's, like, more. I think there's more to come, though, from what I've heard from the other albums. I think this guy's got a lot of range. He's got his unique sound. I think that there's going to be a lot more to come, a lot more stuff that I could, gel with. But when it comes to giving this a score,
yeah, what would you give?
dude? Like, this might be like Kofi Stone is still the benchmark, right? 8.5. Kofi Stone is still. We're so deep in the exchanges right now, and, like, Kofi Stone is still my guy. What was that, week 2?
I think that was week 2
or 3.
or 3. 3.
This guy's been holding it down for like 7 or 8 weeks. Boy, put some respect on his name. Listen, The Weeknd, like, you're talented dude. Talented dude. This is a miss for me.
Fair enough. Maybe listen to Starboy, or I'm trying to think of where there's a good blend of some of the stuff you just mentioned now and this kind of stuff. Cool. I think maybe try Starboy, or we can save that for an exchange.
We can save that for an exchange, because Let's
save that for an exchange.
I'm listening to.
You're probably not going to listen to it,
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, when it comes to a score, should I be mean or should I be nice?
Just do whatever, man.
I'll give this a flat 5. It can change.
Okay.
It just there's no doubt. Yeah, there's no doubting the talent. There's no doubting the intention behind it. The coherency of like storytelling as well as themes. Like, absolutely, like, it flows. It makes sense, right? But yeah,
fair enough, man.
Yeah, man.
That's cool, man. I mean, this is my shit, but I get
sorry.
it.
I'm sorry.
No. But I get it. It's a mood and it's a vibe, and you can't expect everyone to always be on those kind of things,
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't normally recommend this to you, but then these exchanges aren't always recommendations. They're a kind of just source for conversation, right?
Thought pieces. Exactly. Yeah, so man.
That's why, whereas I was going to give you like Ari Lennox or Georgia Smith
Okay.
for this instead. But then I thought
She can sing. She's really good, Georgia Smith.
Those two albums felt more like recommendations that I would give you outside of the podcast, like before we even started doing this. Whereas I wouldn't have recommended The Weeknd to you, right?
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, so I'm kind of changed my perspective on the exchanges, where it's more like, what's the whole point of bridging the gap? Okay,
so,
what would be out of your comfort zone? Which then leads us to, what are you going to exchange for me?
I think so. Keeping in line, so last time I gave you Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. This
time, I think I'm going to give you. I'm torn between two albums by Payable on Death. Do I give you Payable on Death?
Is that their name?
Yeah. Or
fucking hell, man.
So basically, what the name is, I think they're like a multi-faith band. And they're saying that like so when I say multi-faith, is in like one's Christian, I think, and the other one's whatever, right? Maybe a Rasta or something. I think that's the bass player. I don't know. But Sonny Sandoval is, and like I think Payable on Death, basically all of your actions and everything that you put out is like payable on the day you die. Like it determines like your next kind of destination, maybe. That's what I always got. So I think, what do I give you? I mean, that was my first album that I listened to of them. I think I'm going to give you Testify by POD.
Okay. I'm not looking forward to this, but okay.
I really hope. I actually think you'll really like the first track on this album. But yeah.
All right, cool. I mean, should I ask what genre it is?
It's so it's rock, but it's not. Yeah. It's not heavy. Like it's kind of.
Oh, okay.
It's a different.
Payable on Death sounds like some dark black metal.
No. They are like you'll hear the themes. Like you'll hear the themes. They're not like a dark band at all. They do talk about some very. They do talk about experiences with loss and things like that. But I think you'll hear the reason why I like them, and that's all I'm going to say for now.
Okay, then. All right, that'll be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. I haven't listened to this album since I think about 2008, so it's been a while.
It's been a while.
2008.
That's about 13 years.
Whenever it came out, actually, maybe 2009. Can't remember, but yeah, it's. I don't know. It's not in the rotation like at all. So I just thought that just for
kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, just for conversation, really. But yeah, I think you'll get along with it. To be fair.
Okay, cool. Payable on Death. Album called Testify.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Just
I will
type in POD.
POD. Okay, I'll check that out.
And yeah, they're not Slipknot. Like you will be getting a Slipknot album at some point.
I know. Every time I'm waiting.
Mate, it will blow your mind. Genuinely, it took me a long time to understand it. And when you understand the chaos, wow, they are a fantastic band. Like
I would like to understand the chaos.
But then, if you want to understand the chaos, no, I'll give you the first album first, and then Subliminal Verses. Then you'll understand the chaos. But yeah,
okay, that'll be further down the line, isn't it?
That's much further down the line. No, I need to sort of, coach you in the ways of rock. Yeah, I don't want to scare you off. But yeah, man, like,
cool, man.
Oh my God, Incubus as well. You need to listen to Incubus. You'll really get on with them as well. You like good music. Sure. Incubus is good music with a bit of rock.
Okay, fair enough.
You'll be getting them.
Cool.
Right, let me wrap this up because my voice is killing me. So this. So first things first. Join us on Thursday at 8 p.m. That's a lie. Join us next Thursday at 8 p.m. because this Thursday is Katie's birthday, apparently. So you're not going to be... No, bro.
Oh, sorry. By the time this comes out... That's right. By the time this comes out, it will be my birthday in 2 days. Right, you're right. Yeah, I got that mixed up. I was thinking, wait, no, you've got the wrong Thursday.
No, bro, because we're we're ahead of time. So sorry, excuse me while I die. Yeah, so we're not going to be on stereo this week because it's Katie's birthday. He's going to be a grand total of 7?
27, you're right. Yep.
Man, he's entering the prime.
Yeah.
May
okay, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, man. May his musical may his musical genius come out in spades for the next 5 to 10 years. May it be the start of something like absolutely amazing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
amen.
So on Thursday, you'll be getting a shout out from me, like happy birthday, mate. Amazing. So we will be back next Thursday on stereo. And yeah, like if you've been with us this, for this long, thank you very much. Blessings to you guys. Hopefully you're digging the new format. I mean, like, we didn't really talk about the Weeknd all that much. We just went off and freeformed, and that's kind of the way we want to do things. It felt very, very nice.
Yeah, it felt natural.
Yeah, for reals. And like, thank you so much for your time, your attention. Catch us on the socials. We'll be we won't be strangers, man. So yeah,
we're out here.
Amen to that. Okay, everybody. Peace.